So on Monday we were talking about morality under this the fourth noble truth, the noble eightfold path, or the path leading to the cessation of dukkha. Yeah. Now in this noble eightfold path, as you all know, it is divided into three divisions: the division of sila, samadhi, and panya. Sila here falls under the right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Then we have then under samadhi, we falls under the right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Then after that, the wisdom, we have right view and also right intention or right thought. In this morality part, we're going to go into quite a lot. So even today, I don't think I can able to finish on the morality. It may take one or two more talks in order for us to cover more extensively on this nature of morality. Here, morality is not only our 5 precepts or our precepts here and there. It involves everything that we do, especially when it comes out through speech and our action. So all those things, if the mind is right, then when it comes out as speech or as action, then it can fall under morality or sila. So we're going to look into it. Sometimes the later part may be a bit more narrow part or tinier part for us to understand our morality better. Now that day on Monday, we were speaking about the 4 types of morality. Let me share the screen. Okay, can you all see? All right. Now here, the 4 types of morality here. Sometimes I think that the word 4 types of morality, I think may not be a very suitable word to use. I think it's maybe, if I put it aspect also, maybe it's more better. So because that this 1, 2, 3, 4, the moment you have that, it falls under morality, and it's like morality. You can look from 4 different angles. Whichever angle that you look, then it falls under this morality. So on Monday we were talking about intention. Here the intention here, as I said, that when the intention is wholesome, then when it comes into the speech and it comes into the action, then it falls under right morality, proper morality. So the intention here means, for example, if you do not wish to kill, then with that intention, you did not put your hand down to smack onto a cockroach or something like that. You hold back, you abstain, you pull back. So that is a strong intention. Again, here intention may be something that you're doing. Perhaps that you want to offer something wholesome. With your mind, you intend to do the offering. Then you execute the action. You do the action. Or sometimes you intend to speak of something wholesome, to speak of something good. And then with that intention, then it comes after that as a speech. So this intention, we can look at it for many angles. Later part also, when we comes into the samadhi part, then we're going to look into intention again. And this time, this intention, it falls under samadhi, and also in wisdom. And it's quite a lot we can talk about that too. So this one we cover, but we're going to come back again with this intention. So the second one is the mental factor or cetasika. What do you mean by mental factors here? Now here, mental factors means the state of mind, the wholesome state of mind that is going through, that it detects, it will organize your speech or organize your action in such a way that it dependent on the state of mind that arises at that moment of time. Take for example a compassion. So you don't want to kill the cockroach again, but this time your compassion is stronger than, of course the intention is still there, not to say that intention is not there, but now the compassion is stronger, it's clearer, then that compassion prevents you from doing the unwholesome action. Okay? The compassion prevents you from doing the unwholesome action. So your action is connected to this compassion. That's why the morality right now, it falls connected with the compassion. Loving kindness, for example, that you do a certain thing, then you wish that the person who has whatever that they are doing right now, or maybe you in the morning you meet with somebody and then you wish the person sincerely that may you be happy, may you be free, may you be well, may you be healthy in that sense. Sometimes this wish for us, it becomes like sometimes it's really just a morning habit. When we meet with somebody, we just say good morning. But sometimes we don't have the heart into it. It's just a habit. It's just a politeness only in that sense. But in the sense of morality, then even when we comes up with the word good morning, then you kind of like really wish the person, although you say out is good morning, but the mind, you wish the person to be well, to be happy, also can. Then it turns that speech, that word good morning, into morality, rather than it's just a word. So you must, when you speak in that sense, then when you mean it, then that speech falls under the right speech. It falls under morality. Or sometimes we have altruistic joy or mudita. So the word altruistic joy or mudita means that you are happy for others, for whatever success or whatever achievements, whatever gains that they have. Then sometimes we meet with another person and then they have some kind of success, for example, then we, well done, very good, but we sincerely say it out and we rejoice in their success. So when we rejoice in their success, that speech again, it is a wholesome speech and it falls under morality. So that speech comes under morality. If sometimes people will say just success, but they don't mean it again, then again the same thing. It doesn't fall under morality. Then it's just a sense of everyday politeness only. So we take it to another level, which is very good. Or sometimes that we do a certain action, we want to share our joy with others. Perhaps, like for example, there are people who there are devotees who love to cook, they're happier doing cooking. Then with that happiness, sometimes they bring over to peace house or they bring over to temple, and then they want to share with the monks, and then they want to share it with the other devotees, in that sense. Whether hojia bo hojia, that is another thing, But they're happy offering it to the monks. They're happy offering it to help whoever, because they feel a sense of happiness of their achievement. Sometimes within this this period of when we have a lot of lockdown, many of us turn into quite a good chef, because there's nothing much to do, and then all the time cooking, trying this thing out, and then watch YouTube, watch how people cook and so on. Then they begin to turn into a lot of food. Finally, at the end, all the things will end up on my table. But whether I eat or not, that's another thing. Anyway, this is something that they are happy, and then they want to share it with others. This is a kind of mudita, and that action, that giving, that offering, it falls under, in the sense of mental factors of mudita. Then here we have equanimity, or of course when it comes with equanimity, it also comes with wisdom. Here in the sense of wisdom or equanimity, perhaps that when you are teaching others, for example, when you want to guide others, you want to help others, and then you impart your knowledge or your understanding, then the person understands it. So that speech is a kind of offering, is a kind of a gift. So that speech, again, it falls under that speech falls under right speech, and that right speech falls under the equanimity or wisdom. So sometimes you want to, you see a place, people are hungry, people or the place is dirty, and then you want to offer the service to the person, and then you find that if these things, his place is cleaner or better, then it will be very good for other people, and then in that sense you do that. And also, like for example, like this equanimity, for example, like if you concerning with the vaccine, right now, some of us are still doubtful whether to do or not to do. I tell you honestly, with the vaccine, we're coming up with the vaccine. I foresee, but I'm not sure yet. I foresee that in the future, whenever you want to come to a retreat, then the organizer will ask you whether you have taken your vaccine or not. That also is part of, I think, I now foresee, but I'm not sure yet. All these things is all dependent on organizers. So they will see whether you have taken the vaccine or not. But then, of course, in order that, there are those people with allergies and so on, then that is another matter. But some of you totally have a bit on the fence, right? Either you should do or should not do, then you should consider it more carefully, more deeper, because in the next time it will affect you. Then in this sense, while we are here in the talking about this vaccine, then you exercise. Let's say you exercise your wisdom and your compassion, for example, so that you will not able to infect others. You may not infect yourself, but also you may not able to infect others. So you take that vaccine out of compassion for yourself and for others. Then that action of yours, then it turns into something wholesome. Your mind is wholesome, and then it turns into something morality. So you don't have to debate about all those things. So it is good, it is wholesome. If your mind is able to see it clearly. So if you have all these doubts, and then of course you'll be neither here nor there, and then it's be so easily fickle-minded, and then anytime you read a fake news or whatever news, your mind is so easily shifted by some bad news. And all the good news you don't want to see, but you only want to hear the bad news only. Here's something on the, for example, when we talk about the Cetasika, or talk about these mental factors, there are also other things, like, for example, we go back again. Now, there are also other mental factors, for example, like non-greed. Non-greed here, again, it is generosity. In the Pali, in the Abhidhamma, the state of the mind when you have generous, when the mind is generous, when your heart is open, you feel like you want to give, you feel like you want to offer, then that falls under non-greed. Then that is in the sense that sometimes out of compassion, or maybe not compassion also, this time, like, for example, you walk on the street, and then you find that there's a beggar, or there's somebody who is no money, or sometimes, like, when you are in the overseas, they have a performance art in the streets. They have this type of way of doing all kinds of things, for entertainment, in that sense. Then they put the tin or a box, and then for you to put some money. So sometimes you may walk past through, and then you feel like you want to give something, then you contribute something. So in a way that is also feel under non-greed. Then, for example, there are those people who comes to offer their service, to offer their time in the monastery, and also in the old folks' home, or in something that is wholesome, and that also can fall under non-greed, as a form of dana, as a form of service in that action. Take, for example, like again, like faith. Faith here, when that action out of faith, then again here, your mind is pure. Your mind is clear from all the doubts. And then in front of the Buddha, for example, you offer the water, and you offer the incense, and you offer the light, then it falls under, because of your faith, and then that action falls under the Cetasika of faith. Then for somebody else, it may also, like, for example, he offers the incense, and then he reflects on the incense. For example, the sila of the sila is like the incense. It can able to permeate like the incense, like it can spread. Then today I will wish to keep my sila as best as possible, my precept as best as possible. Maybe that, then it falls under action, that offerings, because it is an action, then it comes in as a mental factor. So sometimes not only incense, you reflect on the flowers, you reflect on the on the water that you offer, then it's perfectly all right. Then that action, it falls under faith, and also falls under wisdom. And then after that, you want to do chanting, you want to take your 3 refuges, and you want to take your this one. It's perfectly all right, because that again, because out of faith, you take the precepts, you take the 3 refuges, which is wonderful. Now, in this mental factor also, since we're talking about the precepts and this one, then It falls back under, we go back under intention again. That if you know your precepts well, let's say you know your 5 precepts well, you know your 5 precepts well, all you need to do is to make a determination, to make a clear determination that today I keep my precepts well. You don't have to go through all the chanting because you know the precepts very well. Or sometimes you go into a retreat center. You go to a retreat and then you are expected to take the 8 precepts. Now, if let's say that time you do not know your precepts so much, then it will be good that you go through the chanting. Then at least you know what is your chanting and not just only this, but you know what you are going through. What is this Vikala Bojana Veramani Sikkapadang Samadhiyami, taking food at the wrong time. So what does that mean in that sense? So you go through the understanding. Or in another way, if you come into a retreat, then you know your 8 precepts well because you have come in and out for retreats many times. And then that time, all you need to do is determine that from here onwards, from now onwards, I'll take my 8 precepts. Then that means you already make that determination, you're already in your 8 precepts already. So in that sense, you already fall in the precept, even you don't have to go through the chanting. If you know, if you are very familiar. If you are not familiar, it'll be good that we go through the chanting. Sometimes, talking about these 8 precepts, since just now talking about also the Vikala Bojana, Veramani Sikkapadang Samadhiyami, what is that then? Taking at the wrong time. Some yogis, they think that they are smart, They come in usually in the evening after they finish their dinner first. They're afraid that at night they get hungry. If they come in the afternoon, early afternoon, see lah, bo tan jia dinner liao. No dinner already, so they come in later in the night. Anyway, we know. Even though they quietly do all these things, sometimes I don't see them, so I know what's happening behind the whole retreat setting also. So things like that. Anyway, so we can talk about this cetasika from the perspective of this wholesome state of mind from many ways, many ways. We're gonna go through that again later part in the talks. What else? Let me see. All right. The next one. Now, the third one. The third one is restraint. Okay, sila as a restraint. Restraint means here there are 5 types of restraint. We're going to go through each and every one of them. How in all our actions sometimes when we prevent ourselves from doing something, it can be able to fall under restraint. Now the first one belongs to the Bhikkhu and Bhikkhunis precepts or the here the Patimokkha here, that means these are all our Vinaya, are the rules and regulations, and for Bhikkhus 227, 311 for the Bhikkhunis. So here the whole Patimokkha here, it's a lot to do with restraint. Restraining in many ways that lay people do not do not able to understand, unless you are a monk or a nun yourself. No, honestly, this Patimokkha is a huge area. Just like, we got 3 baskets of Vinaya, Sutta, and then we have the Abhidhamma. And then when you have a basket, that means it's a huge collection. It's a huge, many things that we can able to discuss. And not only just 227 of precepts, but all in all, the Vinaya rules, I think there's mention in the Visuddhimagga, it's mentioned is over 9 million rules. When you permute here and there, although you talk about 227, when you permute here, permute there, and then there are still precepts, and then after you go with the sub precept, and then the sub, and then the sub precept explaining that sub, and then that another one explaining that sub precepts. Wow, it's a lot of things. We know as much as we could, but honestly, sometimes there are a lot of gray areas when it comes into minor areas. When even for Vinaya experts, they have a slightly different way of understanding of the terms and also on the rules. And sometimes they can debate about that too, a healthy debate on the different ways of how you interpret a certain Vinaya. It's not a clear cut as what you think it is. It's just like, sometimes we debate on law, if you are a lawyer, and you can, and certain words I can interpret it in this way or in that way. So Vinaya also is the same. If you really want to learn about Vinaya, you must have a mind of a lawyer. You must have a mind of a lawyer. You can really want to go into it very deep and very scrutinize everything. Then you learn a lot about the rules, and then it's wonderful. It's hard to get people like that. It's not easy to get people who are able to penetrate into the many aspects of the Patimokkha or the Vinaya. So sometimes also in that sense also sometimes we have to ask our seniors, Sayadaws, Ajahn, in how you're going to interpret in this way, in that way. They may interpret in one thing in that way. Then when it's the same thing give to another teacher, then they may interpret it certain way. So sometimes also we also pushing the mind also. So it's not easy. But the whole perspective of this Vinaya Patimokkha is to harmonize the monastics, to harmonize. That means to live in harmony, to go in harmony, to come in harmony, to live in that sense, in as harmonious as possible, so that one can able to develop our state of mind. So this Patimokkha, we can talk about it a lot. The next one is the restraint by mindfulness. Restraint by mindfulness means here, as I put here, where we guard the eye, the ear, the nose, the taste, the touch faculties. Many times when we are in retreat, we are taught to note. Whenever you see something, you're not seeing. When you're not hearing something, you're not hearing. A lot of times people don't explain sometimes the teachers may not explain to you why you should note these things. In the beginning part of the meditation, I says, not seeing, hearing. Why is that? That's there. After I'm not seeing also, I still want to see. I'm not hearing also, I still want to hear. So a lot of times we do not know how to do it correctly. We thought that after noting is still the same thing, so might as well don't need to note. Then no need to note. That is where all our problems comes in. But later part, when the mind becomes more skillful in the noting, then here restraint by mindfulness means you should not apprehend the signs or the particulars. The word sin shall merely sin. It's just another word. When the teacher asks you to not seeing, you just not seeing. Sin shall merely sin. But it's easier than said than done. What we should do in the insight there while we are doing this thing, that we should be mindful not to take in the signs or the nimitta here. The signs here means, for example, when you see a person, that means when you see the person, you're already taking the sign. Or you already, when you identify the person as a woman or as a man, you already identify as a general aspect the sign of it. The sign that the outerness, the outer aspect of the object that you are seeing. So here is what we call the sign. So here you should not apprehend the sign. Or when you see a certain thing, well, this is when you are talking in a retreat. When you see a certain thing, when you just note it as a shape will do. If not, by the time you not careful, very fast is already go into thinking that that person is so and so. That thing is a book. That thing is a cup. That thing is a broom or a cupboard or so on. The mind already make the perception already latched to it, and then it's already making names for it already. So that is what we call apprehending the sign. So when mindfulness comes in, when you are mindful, you're just not the seeing, so that you don't note all the whatever the sign is. Okay? Then the second part is the particulars. The particulars means that the smaller aspect of the sign. For example, when you when you see the woman or when you see the man, then when it goes into the particular, that means you already looking at the hair, for example. She got what hair? Oh, she got black hair, and the hair is curly, and the hair is white. Now you're looking into the particulars. Your mind is already identifying on those particulars. Or when you look at the person, oh, the skin is this color, or the hand in this way, then we already go into the particulars already. So when we come to hearing, it's the same thing. When you hear a sound, then what you should do is just merely noting the sound, or hearing. Then as the sound comes in, and then there's a loud bang, let's say, there's a loud bang. Then the whole mind, if it's not careful, then you go into, oh, this is somebody banging the door bang. Already you go into the sign already. You already go into the sign. And then after that, with the sound, you may start thinking, who is the one who is banging the door? Is this Yogi just coming out, not mindful, bang the door? You're already looking into it a little bit more already. So that is you're going into particular. Or sometimes when you meditate, then you hear music that's playing on. Sometimes like in MBMC, at certain times, Chinese New Year, or in MBMC, like when you meditate upstairs, then during Chinese New Year, then the neighbor down there, tong tong chiang, and don't know what they are putting all the Chinese New Year songs. Then if you are not careful, Then while you're meditating also, you'll be start singing the songs also. Then, so that means you already go into the science and the particular, you're already encompassing everything already. So what you should do is that while we are there, then you have to not hearing. If the music, you will know it, and then you know it as music. As long as you don't go into who sing the music, and when is it the music is produced, and so on, and all those things. So if you can go into that, that means you are going into those particular of those signs and so on. So too, when you smell something, you touch something. So you not just notice touching, or hot, or cold. Then you don't go into like what sort of cushion is that? Where did they buy it? I should go and order it. It feels so nice. Sometimes in the yogis at the end of their retreat, they want to buy the cushion because they feel so nice. That cushion, they give them so-called power to meditate. Wow. Then next retreat, they use the same cushion. No power already. So they think of all these things, not the right way of thinking because they are not mindful. So this one is usually meant for monks or meant for those yogis who are in the proper retreat center. This one also may not be so applicable for your everyday life. It may not be so applicable for everyday life because you need to see what is it. If the car comes in front of you with this one, and then you think that, seeing, and then try and see lah. If you want to cross the road, then you're just not seeing all these things are seeing, then you try to cross the road and see. Cannot. You must know the particulars, you must know what is going on. So that time is not meant for you to this one. At one time also, somebody was telling me, told me long ago, while they are driving the car, they're not touching on the handle but on the steering wheel, not touching. My goodness, how I do not dare to sit beside you. You're supposed to be looking at out there what the car and everything rather than not touching. Of course, they also do, but I think that while you're driving and so on, your attention has to be on the outside. Your attention, you must be wise a little bit, not to exercise this type of restraint on all that while you are doing something. If you are carrying a hot water and then you just want to not seeing, then you simply pour in your hand, you pour in the other people's leg or whatever. So you cannot do that. So not all the time you can able to on this thing. Other times you have to exercise a different form of state of mind, rather than in this sense. So this one is meant for the monks or meant for yogis when you are actually in the state of meditation. So even for the monks also, like for example, when we go outside, then there will be a lot of beautiful things, beautiful people around. You have many things to see and so on. Then also we have to be careful. We have to be careful is with our senses. Be careful with our senses. If not, now you're going to act like a lay person. Sometimes when you go into tour, for example, you're going to tour. I don't know why the tour guide love to take you to go and see the sunset or sunrise. How many times already you have seen sunset, seen sunrise? Anyway, so we have to be restrained in our senses. So when we go out, some monks, when we go out, we should not be looking here and looking there. We should be more careful with our senses, especially the seeing part. So especially now, when you are in a retreat, and a lot of you are not in a retreat right now. So if you are in a retreat, so happen if you are in a retreat and you are listening to the talk right now, so you have to remind yourself that when even like nearby things, like small things and so on, you try to not seeing as much as you can. Not all the time that you can. Sometimes you need to see exactly what it is, or hear exactly what it is. So, but most of the time, you don't have to do that. So most of the time, for example, while you're walking, while you're doing walking meditation, then that time you don't have to look into all kinds of things. Then you're just not seeing. And also, it's good that, in a sense of, if you cannot see, if you cannot not seeing too much, then you just turn your head away as much as you can. All right, this is on the restraint using mindfulness. Then restraint by using knowledge, or using by knowledge or by wisdom. Here, by wisdom, here, for example, again here, if let's say you understand the knowledge of karma and its resultant, then you prevent yourself from doing the unwholesome things, because with that understanding of karma, you know that there will be resultant. So this time, let's say again the cockroach again. You don't want to smack that cockroach, because when you understand that the karma is there, then there will be terrible resultant, unhappy resultant. Then you abstain from that action. That abstinence, that holding back, that is called the restraint by wisdom, by knowledge. So not only that, say for example, you know that giving or offering to your parents, or offering to the noble ones, they are wholesome actions. Then with that understanding, then you perform the actions. You perform the action of serving them, or helping them, or you're giving, offering them in whatever way that you can do. So this is what we call by restraint by knowledge. And for example, by karma or the resultant. So wisdom, this knowledge also can be also in the sense of worldly knowledge, not just only karma, but also can be worldly knowledge. In the sense that you are driving, and then you understand with that knowledge what are the rules and the regulation of the road. The rules and regulation of the road. And so with wisdom, for example, you come to a zebra crossing. Then when you come to a zebra crossing, you stop. A lot of time people don't stop nowadays. Then you stop. Then with that stop, and then with the understanding that that prevent for yourself to knock down a pedestrian that's crossing the road. So with that knowledge also, you restrain yourself. Somewhere you come to a traffic light, that also you stop. Then nowadays we see a lot of motorcyclists and people just go through. So all these things, if we have restraint by your wisdom or by worldly knowledge, then it falls under sila. Whether it's a worldly sila or whether it's more of a noble sila, whether it's in that sense, worldly in that way. So that means it falls under sila. So a lot of our actions, a lot of our actions in our everyday life, it may not concern with the karma and its resultant, but it concerns with the worldly rules and regulation. Some rules and regulation, it helps you to restrain you from doing something in order not to harm yourself or harm other people. And then some of the rules is to help you to promote happiness, to promote better living, living place, a better place for you to live, in that sense. Okay, so this is fall under sila also. So a lot of our actions, don't underestimate that our normal actions in our everyday life, it doesn't fall under sila. It still falls under sila, even it's a worldly in that sense. Okay, all right. Patience. Restrain by patience. What is mean by restrain by patience? Here, restrain by patience is that something that you cannot change. For example, you have to bear up with hot and cold. You have to bear up with hot and cold. And these few days in Penang is very hot. It's humid and it's hot. You cannot do anything. Well, you may turn on the air conditioner and then may solve. But you come out from the room or you come out from your house, it's still very warm. Sometimes you cannot change. Sometimes like when you are meditating while you are sitting, and then the environment, the temperature change, it becomes humid and hot, and then that time you have to bear up with it. This time, if you go to Thailand or Burma around April or May, that time is super hot. Super hot, humid and hot until like 35 degrees hot. At that time also you have to meditate. If you are doing a retreat, then you see how much restraint that you can achieve. Now, one thing that when you have this restraint, you're able to bear up hot and cold, then you prevent yourself from speak or act unnecessarily. Sometimes, like for example, if you cannot bear up with the hot or cold, some people or many people actually, that they begin to curse. They begin to curse the weather. They begin to curse everybody. Or they do their action in such a way that they are getting very annoyed, in their mind. They get very so annoyed with themselves, or annoyed with no particular reason. No particular people, but they're just annoyed with the whole heat. They get so angry. And then you can see that they take their fan, they keep on, make it so hard, so strong, in that way. So sometimes we see that when we go outside, when it's hot and it's humid, some people cannot really take the heat on. They really, you can see that the mind and the speech is quite terrible. And the action is also terrible. So that means they are not able to restrain, by the patience is not there. So if you have patience, that means that you can able to bear up with it. Then it prevents the unnecessary speech, unwholesome speech, or unwholesome action from coming up. Or sometimes with the pain also, for example, when you're meditating, the pain comes up and you cannot do much about it. Of course, you can just move, and then the pain over. But then there are those people who just have to bear up with the pain and keep watching what is going on until the time's up. So this is good also in the sense that when you have a lot of, when you're in a hospital, sometimes we hear of fellow devotees or monks, and then the doctor praised them in the sense that they can able to tolerate the pain very well. They can able to tolerate the pain even though they go through the pain of cancer, the pain of post-surgery, and then they bear up. This is a lot of people cannot even, very difficult for them to bear up. So they can bear up in the sense that the mind is still open, the mind is still clear. They know that they are in pain. The doctors know they're in pain. The nurses know that their patient is in pain, but the patient can bear up. Sometimes also when you go into the hospital and if you go into the ward, so you can see sometimes there are people who keep on the chan, the Hokkien says, I mean, there's a lot of pain there, but there's no restraint by patient. And there are those who are restrained by patient. Then, and also another thing is that sometimes you may not able to sleep at night, for example. You may not able to sleep at night, and then you may start cursing what have you done to yourself, and then what have you been doing in the earlier part. So sometimes you may not able to sleep. All you need to do is be patient and just rest there, rather than you let your mind goes into thinking of all kinds of nonsense and all kinds of things which is unnecessary. During in the retreat, and there are days, there are nights that you may not able to sleep, and you are quite alert. The alertness is because of the whole day you've been striving. And when you are striving, you put in a lot of effort into it. When there's a lot of effort, then it flows into the night. It flows into the night, and you get very quite alert into the whole night. Sometimes some yogis cannot able to sleep the whole night, or more like a dog sleep. They sleep a little bit, wake up, sleep a little bit, wake up. They know that they are not going into a very deep sleep. Now, so even in this way, you should learn to bear up. That you lie there, just be mindful of the body, gently, lightly. Don't let the mind goes into all kinds of thinking about what happened today, why I cannot sleep, then what going to happen tomorrow? Tomorrow, will it affect my meditation? Will it affect this one and that? You don't think of all those things. If you can dwell in those things, then the whole night you become very restless. And then is that restlessness of the body and also the mind, tomorrow makes you very tired. But if you able to restrain and you can able to hold back your body and your mind, just lie down there, don't let the mind run, and then just be patient for the whole night. Even if for 5 or 6 hours you cannot really sleep, be patient there until the time to wake up. Then the next day when you wake up, actually you don't feel that tired. You don't feel that tired because the mind is rested, the body is rested in a way. The body is rested because of the mind is not going into here and there. So that's why when we are getting older, that is where at times you cannot able to sleep a lot. You can have a little bit of sleep, then you wake up. You sleep a little bit, you wake up. You sleep a little bit, you have to go to the toilet. Then when you come back, you cannot sleep. Problems of the old age. I'm on my way there. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. So you have to take note of those things. Yeah, take note of those things. So when you take note of those things, you restrain, and then your anger and your all these things, and it doesn't come up so much. Okay. What else we have? All right, restraint by effort. Restraint by effort, that means you are abandoning the thoughts of sensual desire, hatred, doubt, etc. Unwholesome thoughts. That means here, when the desire arises or the hatred arises, you are angry, You are angry. You are angry with somebody in the office, or angry with somebody at home, because you are in the lockdown every day, see each other and see each other. You're really, sometimes it's just a slight of things only, and then we easily get angry. So here, restrained by effort means that you are angry, mentally you are angry. But now you restrain yourself from opening your mouth or doing all kinds of unnecessary things with your hands or with your bodily movements or bodily actions. Sometimes we are angry, we don't speak it out, but we hit the table a bit louder. So you're angry with the person, and then you walk through the door, you slam the door, just to show off, just to show your anger. So that falls under unwholesome because the mind lets out the anger and it goes into the body, it goes into the speech. So whenever this type of anger arises or sensual thoughts arises, then we hold back. We hold back that thought, we abandon the thought, we make an effort to abandon that thought. Take note of that anger, take note of that desire. So sometimes with that effort also, we can also restrain it by wisdom. We know that, then we reflect in another way, that hatred is not a very good, it will give rise to unwholesome karma and so on. Or sometimes the sensual desire for some man or woman, then you look at some other women or look at some other men, then the lustful thought arises or the sensual thought arises. And sometimes these people, they may be husbands or wife of another. And there are some who are very obsessive with the person, and then they want to go into that type of relationship. Then if you are not careful, then we fall into it. So whenever we see that type of thoughts arises, lustful thought arises, anger arises, we take note in the mind, we take note of it in the mind, and we abandon it in the mind, and then rather than let it come out from the speech and the action. So many times we don't do that, in our lives. Of course, sometimes you are in a stressful environment, like you are in the work, and it's stressful also at times also can be at home because there are children running, there are your mother-in-law nagging you, or your mother is nagging you, or your child is, nowadays the children is nagging the parents, and then you get very stressed out. And then wow, and then you tell yourself, be patient, be patient. How long can you be patient? Let's see. How many days can you be patient? Because you keep seeing each other. Sometimes when you are at work and you don't come back for a while, and then you don't see each other for a while, then all this anger and thoughts all disappear. So, but when you're seeing each other again and again, then all this tension builds up. So, as I said, people are working, and when you are a stressful environment, this one you have to exercise a lot of this restraint connected with the effort. All right. So this is the third one. So a lot to do under restraint. Non-transgression, number 4. The non-transgression here means that you are not transgressing the vows or precept of virtue by speech or bodily actions. Here, for example, you make a promise. You make a promise, or you've taken an oath, for example. Then when you promise somebody, that means you honor your word. You honor your word, and you're going to perform it as best as you can to honor the words. So nowadays, of course, the honor of the words, not just by word only. Nowadays, we have to chop and sign. We have to put in a contract and all that, in order to do that. And when we all know, so a lot of people, when they take this contract or this, they don't honor their words. So non-transgression means that when you make a promise to somebody, or you taken a contract with somebody, then you have to fulfill as best as possible. Then sometimes you may think that, other people not able to fulfill, I don't have to do that also. No, other people, they don't do that, is they breaking their so-called precept, they're so-called, they're transgressing. So here, as a non-transgression means that when you have to honor the things that you're supposed to do. Sometimes you got to be careful with this promise and whatever, or your pledge also, Sometimes somebody is dying, for example. Your mom is dying, and then your mother and they ask you to promise me, you've got to do this. Then you say you promise, just to ease her, then to let her go peacefully, But in your heart, you know that you cannot take it up. You just want to make her comfortable and so on. So sometimes you are in a hard position, a difficult position. If not, you're afraid that if you don't promise her, she'll come back and see you in your dreams or in the spirit or in the ghost. Beijing, So you got to be careful. You got to be careful of what you have done. And then here, oath, whatever. Sometimes you take your oath or you pledge. Sometimes, for example, that we hear of devotees, they want to pledge or to build a building or to build something, And then after that, they hold back on they hold back on their words. They say, "No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that." Once in a while, we hear these things. They say they want to pledge for something, but after that they don't do it. Sometimes also all these things. You see that for yourself. Those are things that when you speak it, when you already spoken about it, and the other party understands you, then here you do not want to make a transgression on it. You make a vow also, for example, a vow that maybe you vow to do certain things. You want to perform certain dana, for example. I make a vow that for this 1 month, I'm going to perform dana every day. And then you make a vow, and then you must not break your vow. You must not transgress your vow. Okay? So this one is what we call non-transgression. So again, like for normally your 5 precept or your 8 precept, when you are doing the chanting, when you're observing, you're speaking it out, then it falls under non-transgression. That means you make a vow to keep the precept of non-killing, and so on. During the time when you are in the retreat, you want to keep the precepts of the 8 precepts. And then you want to become a monk, for example, for a temporary period, you want to become a novice monk. Okay, you take the 10 precept. So you must not break the precept as long as you take up that vow. When you want to, for example, you've taken the vow, this is a precept. When you've taken the precept, this is fall under non-transgression. When you are saying it out loud, that falls under non-transgression. But when you are supposed to see a cockroach in front of you, then you do not want to kill it. You make an intention to abstain from killing it. Then during that time, it falls under morality. It falls under intention. Or sometimes when you don't want to kill the cockroach out of compassion, then it falls under what? It falls under cetasika, which falls under compassion. And then, for example, if you restrain yourself, that this got karma, you hold back, then perhaps also it falls under the third one. So a single action of ours, not a single action. The killing in that sense, you can look the precept from a different angle. So one part you can look from a non-transgression, you can look from cetasika, and so on. There are many things that we can talk about this non-transgression also. Sometimes monks, they are also observe not just only Vinaya rules, they also a certain aspect of ascetic practice. The Pali word is dutanga. The Thai word is called tudong. Tudong. But the Pali word is dutanga. The dutanga, there's 13 types of ascetic practices. And one of the practices is, for example, non-lying down. That means you want to sleep, you must not lie down. You sleep by sitting. You must not lie down. Then you observe this, for example, 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 months or 1 year or 10 years. All you need to do is not lying down. Then you observe that particular practice. This particular practice, when you observe it, it's very helpful. It reduces the attachment of sleeping, a desire for lying down or resting in that sense. So certain practice is very helpful. So non-transgression in this way. All right. So tonight we talk about the overall on this morality. We're going to talk about another talk next week. We're going to talk about it also, its benefit, and we're going to look into the different area, different types of precepts again, to see in order for us to understand the precepts. To understand the morality better, not just precept, to understand the morality more deeper, more clearer in our everyday action and also in our retreat. Okay? And on the Friday, we have a Q&A session. And we have a Q&A session. You can send in your questions in to Brother Benny. They will put it in the chat or put in the Facebook comments. I think the number that you should send it to. And then here again, the questions are related to the Dhamma, talk, or related to any aspect of the Dhamma that you are not familiar with or you have certain doubt. Then I can able to give you the more or less the answers for it. So don't ask me about all kinds of things, about the worldly things that I have no idea much on it. We stick it to the Dhamma. All right. So that's it for tonight. We will share merits.